Hi there, all you chums out there. Welcome into our kitchen with Toyah and Robert, your deeply unqualified agony aunts, to give you some useless answers to a few of your many burning questions.
We've had fantastic questions, so many. We've kind of got months worth of questions, which we're so grateful for. Gary Caretaker, you say, when we entertain someone and people come round, do we get them to sing and dance for us?
Well, the quicker answer is not for me. What I love doing is I love our guests to present a report on what they're doing in their lives and what excites them. However, what I also love them doing is to beat 4 in one hand and 5 in the other while they're presenting their report or their news or what has been exciting them in life this week.
It's true, he makes everyone do that. But also, no one escapes this. When we have friends, we normally get a takeaway, because if I've been filming all day or I've had a concert and I've driven, say, 6 hours back from Glasgow, I'm not going to be a great cook. So the friends order their Chinese or their Thai or their Indian, and we make the friends phone, and then we put this behind them as they order, and we even put it on the front step once and set it off as people walk past. And don't you look disdainfully, Fripp. You are the main offender with this. It's your toy. Admit it.
Please forgive us. Put it away.
So we are childish. You might have guessed that by now. Now, one question we wanted to answer for you is a kind of rhetorical question that we came up with in the week. And what have we got from lockdown? Because we feel very much that the end is in sight and we're going to go back to our normal lives. We're still going to do this, but our normal lives are just non-stop travel. And I think the one thing I've got from lockdown is I've had 10 glorious months with my husband, and we've never had that time together in 35 years, and it's been fantastic. And I've got to know him. I've got to see his strengths, and we all know his strengths in public, but I've seen his strengths in the home, and also knowing that he has areas in his life where he needs my support, and I've never seen that before, which has been fantastic.
Thank you, lovely. Well, for me, I've learned the continuity of continuity. Now, there are 4 different ways the continuity and discontinuity...
What?
May I go on, dear, or
Yep.
would you like me to just shut up
No,
now
no,
and
no,
go straight to a magic chord?
What is the continuity of continuity?
Well, let me go through the other ones. In my professional life, I'm used to the continuity of discontinuity and the discontinuity of continuity. In other words, it's always pretty much a mess. We won't get onto the discontinuity of discontinuity, but what I have learned at home is the continuity of continuity, being at home in the same place, looking out the same window, seeing the changes of the season day by day. Thank you. That's the first thing I've learned. The second thing I've learned is my wife seems happier. She might be lying, but she seems happier when I'm around at home.
I love you being around, because when we first met, Robert would go away on New Year's Eve for 2 weeks. I never had a New Year's with him, and I find that heartbreaking. We put our foot down about being apart over birthdays, and then for 18 years I did pantomime, and as glorious as it was, and the respect I have for that tradition, and giving children their first experiences of theatre. I mean, the companies I work with gave 100%, that these families who spend a lot of money to put 3 generations into the audience that night, we gave them our blood. But I never saw him for Christmas. I was exhausted, and my Christmas day was the only day off. So to be home and know that I wasn't having to travel and there was no concerts, as heartbreaking as that was, My husband's 74, and this last 10 months has been really, I think, some of the most precious 10 months of our lives. So it's been good. We just wanted to mention that because I think after we get over the fear of COVID, we're going to look back and go, oh, we couldn't have become that if it wasn't for this time. So we just wanted to raise that one. Rebecca Tilney, would you ever go back on stage and sing? Rebecca, this is really interesting because obviously I do about 150 concerts a year, but you're referring to stage musicals. I have so much admiration for the performers who do 8 shows a week for 2 years solid. It's such a big ask. It's so taxing on the vocal cords, on the body, on everyone you live with because you're never there in the evenings and never there at weekends. Would I do it again? Yes, for the National Theatre. Yes, for the Opera House when they do modern productions. Yes, for the Royal Shakespeare Company. And yes, for the Donmar Warehouse. But would I do a 2-year run in the West End? I don't think I can. I need my mix-up of things. I need to know that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I can be a creative writer. And then the rest of the week, I am a singer. It's really, really, I think, a big ask. And also, I can fit movies in at the moment. And I have this terrific movie coming up in March and April. It's breathtaking. Someone at the door. We had to answer the door.
Thank you to our wonderful postman here in town. If I might just put in, we live in such a wonderful, friendly town. And everyone here lives and works together. It's stunning. It's
they all call us by our names and we know their names. And also thank you to the Amazon delivery drivers. You have been phenomenal this year. Phenomenal. Thank you.
Now, returning to this question from Rebecca, would Robert ever go back on stage to sing again? No.
Oh, but we are going to do Christmas carols in about 2 weeks.
This is my wife's suggestion. I'm not sure any of you deserve that.
He's got the most fantastic singing voice. I absolutely love it. Martin John Baker, hello Toyah and Robert. Can me and my mate fish in your lakes? That's a Roger Daltrey question.
Martin, you dear man, my best wishes to you and your riparian chum. Riparian chum? Riverbanks, these are not lakes. This is the River Avon that goes by. And you would be most welcome to come and fish off the River Avon, but we can't give you that permission.
Most of our riverbanks are owned by the Birmingham Anglers Society, but I'm sure there's areas where you could sneak in and fish if you wanted to. Well, you've just said the same thing.
Shh, guerrilla fishing, dude.
The river is teeming because there's been no kind of fishing action this year. And Robert hasn't seen this yet, but I often go down to the river to meditate. And these huge fish, I mean, they're about that big and that wide. I think they're carp. They are like dinosaurs coming out the water, just kind of surface and go back down again. We have mink and we have otters. We're concerned about the mink because they're supposed to carry COVID. But, you know, we've had them for decades and they're very, very visible and they keep taking the ducklings.
Lovely. I think the carp might actually be pike.
They're both carp and pike.
Really?
Yeah, we've got trout as well.
Well, there you go.
So thank you for that one, Martin.
What are you missing?
Tony Ames. Oh gosh, this is quite a complex question, I think. Just watched your interview with Ian McNay on Cherry Red. That's me, because Cherry Red are releasing the whole of my back catalogue. It's one of the most personal and insightful interviews I've seen in many years. Are you sick of going back in time over and over again? Does it bring back hard, hurtful memories or bring you joy? In this interview, it seemed very cathartic and therapeutic, especially. The hardest question for me to answer, and you've got to remember I do about 4 hours of press every weekday, is tell me how you started. Tell me about your early life, because I want to talk about now, or I want to talk about creativity. I want to talk about writing a lyric, having a tune come into your head, creating a character, Do I want to talk about home life, school? It's just, ugh. And no one ever asks about the present. And for me, the present is the most magical and exciting time. How is it for you when you're interviewed?
This is a complex question, and
Go on.
the difficulty is that when, if you like in this case, the artist, the musician speaks and has something to say or feels they have something to say to their audience, this is very rarely what actually gets to be presented to the audience. First of all, whatever you say is interpreted by the writer and is then censored by the editor. I'll give you one practical example. In 2008, I think it was, a very good writer for the Daily Telegraph came up to the train station, and the train was late. So they arrived and they only had a few minutes of interview rather than it didn't matter. They'd already written the interview. I could tell from the questions, but they had to visit me just to have this validated. And the question went on about the musical life, being a professional and so on. What do you do if you're on fire with music? And my general advice is this: if you love music, become a plumber.
Oh no, that makes me so cross.
What I'm saying is that, Lovey, this was the headline in the paper.
And that's what I was going to say. It's the copy editor who's the worst. The headline can kill the interview.
Well, I think it was probably the best thing I said all day, but the point is, my presence in the interview was utterly irrelevant to what took place.
And ladies and gentlemen and young people, I say to my husband, never tell anyone to be a plumber. What you want to be is your choice, not his. And if you feel you want to play guitar and be creative, you play guitar and be creative.
I agree.
If you need to earn a living, learn to be a plumber, but don't give up your dreams.
I have not suggested you give up your dreams. I've suggested you might consider the semi-professional life.
So in answer to your question, Tony, is it hurtful going back on certain areas of my life, or is it cathartic? Do you know, I never ever think about it till I'm asked, because I'm too in the present and too in the future creating new stuff. There are things I'd rather not talk about, and there's things that bore me so senseless that I just say, I'm really sorry, I can't answer it. The big one, why did I never have children? It's bloody obvious. I decided not to have children. Full stop. It's not something I want to talk about. And because I'm a woman, and all women artists know this, we get trapped in women-themed kind of interviews. And we have to do it because we have to get our name out there. I very rarely have met a female artist who's been talked to as if she is just simply a musician. So there you go. But it's not hurtful. It's just, I have to remember to be kind when I'm in that situation. Alison, Minx Wood. Nice one. Please help. Now this is really, really important. I've lost my interest in music, in life, in love. I wake up feeling angry at the world, cannot find enjoyment. Please help. I'm crying all the time. For God's sakes, please help.
Alison, when I read this,
Yeah.
in strange and uncertain times, sometimes a reasonable person might despair. But hope is unreasonable and love is greater even than this. Now, when there's nothing we can do, we get out of bed. And when we get out of bed and there's nothing we can do, we do the washing up.
Get dressed.
In other words, when there is nothing we can do, there is always one very small little thing we can do. So we begin with the possible and move towards the impossible. And maybe if we can just draw breath and take a moment, we might find that there is help being presented to us if we hear it or see it.
I want to add, Alison, when you get numb, and this happens to us all, you're just so numb, you can't see beyond the void. I'm going to suggest something to you, and I'm going to ask you to push through and try this, and hopefully you have mobility. Go back to the music of your formative years. For me, that would be Jimi Hendrix, Mark Bolan, Alice Cooper, Black Sabbath, Bowie, Roxy Music. Put it on. And this is what I do in this kitchen. I just put it on a DVD player and I dance till I'm so effing exhausted, and then I sit down and let the body chemistry fight and change the condition I'm in. Sometimes that kind of dynamic meditation can help your brain, give you some endorphins, and movement is very, very important. And I just say to you, and I ask you, just express it in the physical and see if your brain can do the work for you, because that numbness is just hell. It's hell. So we're with you on that, and we hope that the sun starts shining soon. Thank you. Keith Ian Bartram, do any of you have any annoying things at all that you hate?
Yes! When people eat and talk at the same time. Hate,
is that
hate,
me?
hate.
It's not me. I so rarely eat. Is this about ourselves?
This is a general thing with me. And even worse than that is when people cough and sneeze and don't cover their mouth. Hate! Hate!
We're in a restaurant last year, and this woman on the table behind us went, and I felt it on the back of my head. And normally I do not respond negatively in public to anything. We can't, we're well known. I turned to her and I went, what? And she knew what she'd done. She knew what she'd done. For me, I thought this was about both of us. Coffee grounds in the sink. I go out for the day to work and I come back and the sink is full of coffee grounds.
Lovely, I think the question has been sufficiently answered.
The smell of cheese while watching telly.
Blue cheese.
He does nothing but eat cheese.
This is, please, my wife is exaggerating a little. Little sweetie, I think it's time for some magic music.
Go for it.
All right. So, this week, I think a magic chord sequence.
That we've both been working on.
Yes, and this is not my chord sequence. This is just, if you like, a little, well, see what you think.
Magic.
And its simple forms are F, B flat, A flat, D flat, but they have a continual movement between two notes, C and F. So we begin with F, B flat, A flat, D flat.
Bring all your friends.
Does that make you break into song?
Or does, I'm going to pull my dress down, keep talking Frippy, does...
I've no idea what's going on here. Ah! It's Willip. Willip has dressed up for this event. So look, let's see if Willip gets dancing. I think we crossed over into the absurd this week, dear.
So everybody, it's December. The vaccine is coming. Life should get back to normal. We are feeling very positive about everything. We hope you are too. We will see you tomorrow for Toyah and Robert's Sunday lunch. And of course, the following Saturday, where we're going to start singing carols. Stay safe, everybody. Lots of love, Toyah and Robert.
Lots of love from Robert and Toyah.
To temptation, let the party begin. I open all my to a multitude of sin.